I always thought the holidays brought out the truth in people, not in grand declarations, but in the little things. The way someone wrapped a gift, the songs they hummed while cooking, the names they mentioned in their prayers. It's strange how I didn't see it sooner, how I missed the signs wrapped in tinsel and wine. Christmas had always been her favorite. Or maybe she just said that because it was mine. She played the part so well, tree trimmed down to the last golden ribbon, table set like a magazine spread, matching pajamas for everyone including the dog. She called it curated joy. I used to think that was clever. Now I think it was scripted. That year, the air felt different. Not wrong, just thinner, like there wasn't enough oxygen in the house. Maybe it was the way her laughter stopped just a beat too late, or how her hand would find her phone like it had a gravity of its own. I'd see her thumb hover over the screen, her eyes scanning something fast before flipping it over. She said it was work, said the firm needed her even on holidays. I believed her, because you believe the people you love, until they leave you no choice but to stop. Our families had gathered at her parents' place that year. Big house in Connecticut, all white pillars and garland-wrapped banisters. Her father liked me well enough. Her mother smiled through her teeth. And I just tried to be helpful. Carried in pies, shoveled snow, lit the fireplace. She told me once that was what she loved about me. I made things easier. Dinner was at 6. The roast was perfect, the wine was flowing, and the jokes were mild enough for her grandmother to laugh at. I sat beside her, as always. Her hand didn't find mine under the table like it used to. She reached instead for her phone when she thought no one noticed. But I did. Every time. Then came the introductions. Her cousin had brought a new boyfriend. Her younger brother had a fiancé now, and when her aunt, silver-haired and sharp-tongued, leaned in to ask, "And this fine man here is your husband, of course?" That's when it happened. She laughed. Not mean, not cruel, just light, like she was brushing lint off her shoulder. "Oh, him," she said, placing a hand on my shoulder as if I were a seat filler. "He's just a friend. Just a friend." I felt it before I understood it. That moment when your heart doesn't break. It clenches, trying to hold itself together. Everyone laughed politely, awkwardly. I forced a smile. Her mother raised an eyebrow. Her father looked down at his plate. I stared at her. She didn't look back. That moment stretched longer than it had any right to. I nodded, chuckled like I was in on the joke, and excused myself to refill the wine. In the kitchen, I stood by the sink, breathing through my nose. My hand trembled slightly as I poured a Pinot Noir I couldn't taste. I'd known, deep down, not just because of the phone, but because love doesn't forget how your coffee tastes. Love doesn't forget the sound of your laugh, the rhythm of your stories. She'd stopped asking about my day weeks ago, and I'd stopped offering. Back in the living room, the gifts had begun to pile up under the tree. I'd brought something for everyone, of course. Thoughtful, measured, wrapped with paper I chose weeks ago. Hers was small, elegant. She didn't know I'd been in her phone. I didn't plan to do it. But when I saw the messages, those soft, secret little confessions tucked behind fake names and midnight timestamps, something inside me shifted. Screenshots, saved, organized by date. I told myself it was just for clarity, for closure. But maybe a part of me knew I'd use them. So when I returned to the circle, glass in hand, I placed her gift at her feet. She smiled, absent-mindedly. And then she handed me mine. A book. Something generic. A political memoir I'd never mentioned wanting. Her smile didn't even reach her eyes. "Thought you might find it interesting," she said. I nodded. "Thanks," I said. "Actually, I've got something a little more personal for you, too." She tilted her head. The others looked over. The room buzzed faintly with second-hand anticipation. I reached into my coat, pulled out a small envelope, unwrapped it slowly, theatrically, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked, still smiling. "A memory," I said quietly. "Or a series of them." She opened it, pulled out the first page. Her smile vanished. I turned to the rest of the room. I figured this was the season for honesty. And since I'm just a friend, maybe it's fair you all know how she talks to her other friends. Silence. And then, slowly, I began to read. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just read. Friday, 12:43 a.m. I wish he'd stay at work longer. Every time he talks about his projects, I want to crawl out of my skin. I don't think I've loved him in years. I owe him something. Not love, maybe gratitude. That's enough, right? A rustle of fabric. Her aunt shifted in her seat. Her brother cleared his throat. No one laughed this time. Her face, she froze, pale as the snow outside. Her hand twitched toward her phone, instinctive, like she wanted to rewrite the moment by text, maybe delete the history I now held in my hands. I looked at her, not with anger, but with clarity. You said I was just a friend, I said, steady. So maybe it's fair they know what kind of friend you've been to. I handed the envelope to her mother. Would you mind passing those around? They're quite enlightening. A chorus of pages sliding from hand to hand followed. Silent gasps. Her cousin whispering something behind her palm. Her father adjusted his glasses, skimming fast like he was looking for some clause to save her from what this had become. She finally spoke, her voice brittle. What are you doing? What you couldn't, I said. Telling the truth. The room had gone completely still, like the kind of silence that only comes right before something breaks. She looked around, eyes darting from face to face, searching for someone to defend her, to jump in, to call this what she wanted it to be. Cruel, unnecessary, theatrical. But no one moved. She stood suddenly, knocking over her chair. This is not the time or place. And yet, I said, you made it the place when you introduced me as just a friend. You opened the door. I'm just walking through it. My voice didn't shake, not once. Maybe because I'd rehearsed it in my head 100 times. Or maybe because the heartbreak had already passed. All I had left was the echo of what we used to be. Her mother had stopped reading. She stared at me, then at her daughter, then at the printout still trembling in her hands. You were texting him while we were lighting the Advent candles? She asked, horrified. She's lying. My wife muttered. No, not lying, flailing. He's making this look worse than it is. Her father, a man of few words and deep silences, said quietly, is any of it not true? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her cousin handed a page to her fiancé, eyebrows raised. Someone else took a photo of the printouts, like this was evidence in a courtroom and not Christmas Eve in a house filled with garland and baked ham. I looked at her one last time. Her cheeks were flushed now, her arms crossed. That same phone she'd clutched for months like a lifeline sat dead on the coffee table, screen black, secrets exposed. You could have just told me, I said, quieter now. You could have said you wanted out. She didn't answer. I stepped back, reaching for my coat. Where are you going? Someone asked behind me. Maybe her grandmother, maybe no one. Home, I said. Wherever that ends up being. I didn't ask for the book back. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked out into the snow, the print of my boots marking the driveway like a trail I wasn't going to return along. The cold hit me like clarity. Crisp, brutal, honest. For the first time in months, I wasn't guessing. I wasn't wondering. I wasn't checking phone logs or pretending not to notice the new cologne on her coat. I knew. And the worst part? I wasn't even angry. Just hollow. Like love had been drained out of me slowly, until there was nothing left but frost and breath and a ringing silence I couldn't unhear. I sat in my car for a long time that night. The heater didn't warm me. I didn't try to cry. I just stared at the dashboard, listening to the engine tick, thinking about the version of me who had walked into that house hours ago. Still holding on, still hoping, still waiting to be chosen again. That version of me was gone. I let the engine idle and watched the snow gather on the windshield. Then I opened my phone, opened a new note, typed 3 words. Now I know. The next morning, the group chat blew up. Her family's, not mine. Screenshots, photos of the printouts. Her mother's text. We deserve an explanation. Her father didn't message, just removed her from the thread. I didn't respond to anyone. I spent that morning walking through an empty city, the streets muffled by snow. Coffee shops half closed. People in scarves and mittens with paper bags full of last-minute gifts. Life kept moving. That's the thing about heartbreak. It feels like your whole world just stopped, but the rest of the world doesn't get the memo. By afternoon, she called. I let it ring. Then again, and again. Finally, I answered. Not to hear her, just to listen. Her voice cracked before she even said my name. I didn't mean to humiliate you. I exhaled. But you did. It wasn't supposed to come out like that. I panicked. I didn't think you'd read, I said. Share the truth? You didn't think I'd have the strength, or the decency, or the guts. She didn't answer. I was never perfect, I said. God knows I wasn't. I worked too late. Forgot anniversaries. I let the distance grow. But I was never cruel. I never lied. I didn't want to hurt you. I paused. Then you should have left. I said. There was silence, the kind that sinks into your bones. Then her voice, soft, almost childlike. I don't know who I am without you. I felt a flicker of something. Pity? Grief? Regret? Maybe all of them. Maybe none. You should figure that out, I said. But not with me. Click. I spent the rest of Christmas alone. That sounds sad, but it wasn't. It was quiet. Peaceful. I drove north until the road stopped being familiar and rented a tiny cabin off an app I'd never used before. No signal. No texts. Just a fireplace, a few books, and a box of ginger cookies some stranger had left as a welcome gift. I lit a fire that night. Watched the flames for hours. Thought about the versions of us that might have made it. If timing had been different, if honesty had come sooner, if love had been chosen over comfort. And then I let them go. In the weeks that followed, she tried again. Emails. Apologies. A handwritten letter on cream stationery. She wrote, I thought you'd never leave. I took that for granted. I thought just a friend would sting, but I didn't think you'd pull the whole house down with you. I didn't reply. Because here's the truth. Sometimes, silence isn't punishment. It's dignity. It's knowing you said enough. Gave enough. Stayed long past when you should have gone. And now, finally, you're choosing yourself. I moved out of the city. New job. New apartment. New rituals. I kept the printouts. Just one copy, sealed in an envelope at the back of a drawer. Not out of spite. Just as a reminder that even on holidays, when the lights are warm and the smiles are staged, truth still finds its way out. That next Christmas, I didn't go to any big dinners. No formal introductions. No perfect table settings. Just me, some friends, a crooked tree, and laughter that didn't feel like a cover for something else. Someone asked if I still believed in love. I smiled, slow and honest. Yeah, I said. But next time, I'll unwrap it more carefully.